Turn the ringers off. Got 15 seconds.
We're just adding one thing, Teresa.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Okay. They're all on the consent agenda. Good morning. We are here on December 31st, 2025, the last day of the year for our regular scheduled county commissioner meeting to make sure we have all business in order. We have all three commissioners, our administrator, Mr. Danzel, and our clerk of the board, Ms. Alvarez. At this time, I'll call the meeting to order and ask everybody to please rise and join in the pledge. And if everybody would remain standing, we have Chaplain Walsh in the room, and we'd ask him to please say a prayer for 26, today and 26, so we may have smooth sailing.
All right, yes. So I'm a Christian, so I pray in Jesus' name, but if you're Lord Father, we just come to you on this day, this last day of 2025, Lord, and we just ask done and accomplished, and we ask for smooth sailing in 2026. For 2026 to be a time of prosperity for the city, low stress, wisely, decisions made with knowledge, and best interest of the two counties. Blessing and anointing over the leaders.
Amen. All right, the first order of business is the adoption of the current agenda.
Mr. Chairman, we need to add an item to our agenda, or a couple items. Under consent, we need to add Resolution 2025-392, and that resolution would rescind Resolution 2025-353, and what this is a correction to the non-bargaining employees matrices. And so there was some information, and when we passed that had not the proper information had not got updated. So this is just to update that to the correct information. And then I would ask that we add to regular business. Sorry, I grabbed the wrong piece here. So it's a joint resolution, Benton County, Franklin County resolution. The Benton County resolution is 2024-0715. The Franklin County resolution is 2024-240. That is the joint resolution for where that each county added $5.47 million in betterments to the Columbia Valley Center for Recovery. I would like to put that on regular business for potential action. With that, I would move for adoption of that amended agenda.
Second.
There's a motion and a second for the addition of consent item 16, resolution 2025-392. That's to rescind resolution 2025-353. And then on regular business, resolution 2024-240, mental health tax for possible action. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Takes us to public comment. Is there anybody in the room for public comment?
I think you all are very well aware that the Eastern Washington College Amendment petition, which is a protected right to redress constitutional Washington State because they have to amend the Constitution to do that. In our Constitution, that right is only given to the legislature. There are many laws like that. We have 15, gentlemen. And when the county commissioners, our first line of legislators, go to Olympia and disrupt and say, we have to redress our constitutional crises, such as making a contract on carbon tax credits with Canada, is only the right of the U.S. government. They don't even have the right to set minimum wage. The only wage they have the right to set is for convicts. There's many, many redresses of grievances, and I implore you, I can either bring them, and you won't understand what we're doing, okay? And then you will be responsible for adhering to the Constitution, or you can do a workshop and understand exactly what we're doing, the rights that we have. The Eastern Washington COG has started to recognize that this is at least an option to show Olympia that they cannot tyrannize their people. Furthermore, you're very well aware of the payroll tax. That's an income tax. That's unconstitutional. It's an end run around amending the Constitution, which passes both houses and the people in this state. You do have the power. It is very important that all men who have the full understanding, the same knowledge, will rarely disagree. And I see the consternation, but there are pieces already in place to enforce this on the county level and on the state level. The invasion that we're experiencing, as you're well aware, 529 Somali daycares, and they're already running to protect them from harassment. I again redress this grievance with you that we are being invaded on a constitutional defined level of invasion. It is the state's responsibility to make sure the people who vote are only citizens, not the citizens. And I've even heard some Republicans in the legislature say, well, the state puts it on them. In Minnesota, you just have to vouch for somebody. Like, I'm going to vouch for Steve Bauman. I know him. Okay, you get to vote. Gentlemen, this is outrunning us, and we have the Constitution. She will stand by you if you'll stand by her. Thank you.
Anybody else for public comment? Anybody on the phones? Seeing nobody else step forward, we'll move for the approval of the consent agenda items 1 through 16.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of consent agenda items 1 through 16 as presented.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. All in favor? Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Takes us down to regular business, which is our resolution 2024-240 Franklin County, 2024-0715 Benton County mental health tax. Mr. Bauman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've brought it to you, my fellow commissioners, a number of times of my concern of the Columbia Valley Center for Recovery and my not being able to make sense of the cost and how that center is going to operate. And I have been diligently seeking information, trying to learn, trying to understand what the operation of that facility will look like. And I've been largely unsuccessful of getting complete information on that facility. And last year, we passed a joint resolution allocating $5.47 million to the Columbia Valley Center for Recovery for betterments. To date, we have paid half of that allocation. There's $2,735,000 that has been paid, and there's that much that remains in that allocation. And I would like this board to pause that until that we can get a more complete and better understanding of how that center is going to operate. Because I have been unsuccessful in getting information that to my satisfaction of an understanding. I have gone to our state representatives. I've shared with them my concern that we're building something that we cannot afford. I think that the Columbia Valley Center for Recovery is absolutely critical and vital for our communities. This community is spending their hard-earned dollars on this mental health tax to put something like this together. They are already indicating that they're going to have to, quote, pare back services because that it's getting to be so large. I have been I've gone a number of times to the Mental Health Advisory Board and shared with them my concern, and I've been told a number of times from a number of different people that I'm the problem commissioner in Franklin County that is asking too many questions and I need to leave it up to the experts. And frankly, gentlemen, I don't know how to do that. It's the process with which I glean information, with which I come to an understanding. And what I told this community that I would do is that I would safeguard and I would be very diligent in the process of spending taxpayers' dollars. And their website indicates that they need 150 employees in that facility. Afterwards, it was clarified that that was going to be 144 FTEs. If you take that number, and I don't know how else to do this because they won't give me the numbers, but if you take that 144 full-time employees and you take that number times the average cost of an employee with burden across the healthcare industry across the United States, that's roughly $140,700 per year per employee. And if you take that number, that would put payroll at that facility over $20 million. You also have to keep the lights on, the water flowing. You got to buy toilet paper, and you got to plow the snow in the parking lot. I don't know how that facility is going to operate at its current trajectory. I would like this board to get a comprehensive answer to what that facility is going to look like before we send any more funds that way. I don't know, I don't want to do it this way, but I don't know how else to do it. I have been very, very diligent. I have gone to that facility more than a dozen times on tours. I have been following it very closely. I think it's vital, critical for our community that we have access to something like this. I don't know how we afford it. Benton and Franklin together are collecting between $9 and $10 million in mental health tax. And if you have a payroll that, if you take the average cost of an employee in Franklin County times the number of employees they will have, it's going to be somewhere over $13 million for payroll. If you take the average cost of a healthcare employee, it goes to north of $20 million, and that doesn't count what it takes to operate the facility, the operations and maintenance, not counting payroll. I don't know how it's going to work. I know that there will be some level of reimbursement from insurance, from Medicare, Medicaid, the various different ways that will be paid for. Those numbers have been dropping year after year, reimbursement rates from Medicare, Medicaid, and health insurance. And the projections that I have been told, it doesn't align, and there's I can't get the information, and so I would like this board to pause any further allocation of mental health monies from Franklin County to that facility until we get a comprehensive answer.
Commissioner Mullen?
It sounds like a pretty simple request. We should have that information before we continue supporting something that they won't tell us what it's going to cost.
I have to agree. And I think as the three commissioners on this board, we got to be demanding this uncertainty of time in our economy that we know where every dollar of these tax dollars is going. Jeff, it looked like you might want to, do you want to add something to this discussion? Our legal counsel?
I think our reluctance from my office with this agreement was simply that this is a Benton County facility.
Yep.
So by giving all these millions of dollars of our Franklin County tax dollars, what are our citizens receiving in exchange for that benefit? It's unclear to me what we receive. We don't receive a certain number of available beds. We don't receive any assurances that we'll have any sort of deal on the back end in terms of the cost per bed date. So it's unclear what consideration we're receiving in exchange, other than this facility, which I know we all support, and we want to see something like that in our community. But that's always kind of been our concern, is that we're shelling out a lot of money for this facility that's not going to be jointly owned or operated by Benton and Franklin counties. And it's unclear, once that facility is constructed, what the benefit, if any, would be for Franklin County versus any other county that can utilize that facility. And Benton County made that clear, that they can't guarantee bed days.
That's right.
or anything like that. But the question still remains, what are we receiving in exchange for these millions of dollars that we're using to fund this facility? So, I mean, I would say it's more of a policy concern rather than necessarily a legal one, but it's almost as if we're just gifting funds to them, for construction of their own facility.
Mr. Danzel, do you have anything you want to add?
I concur with both sentiments of everybody that's spoken, so I'll wrap comments up with that. But I agree with what Jeff said, or Council Briggs said, and what you gentlemen have all articulated today.
So, Jeff, what would be the appropriate process? Do we need to draft a resolution to rescind this resolution, or can we just make a motion to pause further payment until this board is satisfied with the answer that we receive, or the presentation, or the information that we receive? What would be the proper process?
A resolution should be rescinded or modified by a subsequent resolution. So that would be my suggestion. What that resolution provides for is up to the board, whether you want to pause or rescind the prior. I think either course of action would effectively modify that prior resolution. So I guess the short answer is we need a resolution to determine what the board wants to do.
Fair enough. So, Mr. Chairman, I would move that this board instruct our administrator and legal counsel to prepare a resolution to pause any further funding of the Columbia Valley Center for Recovery until this board is satisfied with the information that is provided as to the operational expenses.
And do you think we could have this
provided.
ready for January 7th meeting?
I think with time, I could have a draft over, I could have one done today,
Okay.
and then we could have it over, I don't know how long, it won't take long.
Okay, so
Yeah.
today, possibly doing it today?
It'll be
Okay.
available today if you'd like to do that. It wouldn't take very long
I
at all.
think time is of the essence. We want accountability. We want to know clear cut. We want discovery, is what they would say in the legal terms. We want discovery of what are we buying? What are we buying ourselves into here? What is Franklin County getting out of this besides a heavy bill?
Mr. Chairman, I know that there's a request for a closed session today, so I don't know how this would work, but maybe we could be drafting it while we're having a closed session and have something probably pretty ready for review.
We won't adjourn. We'll go into our closed session,
Yeah.
and then are we going to have an executive session also?
I believe we have a need for one, yes.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Baumann. I concur wholeheartedly, and I think that in these economic times, I know we're doing it out on the farm. We're looking at every cost. In fact, there's a lot of farmers talking about they don't even know what they're going to plant next year. There's no money in anything. So we as commissioners need to be keeping a tight rope on our funding.
It makes me excuse me, it makes me sad how hard I've tried and how little information is being willing to be shared, and to the point where talking to our administrator, I said, well, maybe I need to go down the route as a sitting Franklin County Commissioner. Maybe I just need to go through the public records request process, because
Why?
they just won't answer my questions.
Why would you have to go that? We should
Well,
have
I don't think
clarity.
I should have to, but it's been remarkable. I've expressed it to our administrator many times. I've shared it with you guys over the last year of my concerns. I've sat down with a number of our state legislators and said, what what I have heard our state legislators say, and what I asked them for clarification on, was I've heard our state and national legislators say, we will help build the facility, but you have to run it with local funds. And it was reiterated to me, yes, that is the case, that we have state and federal funds that have helped build the facility, but locally we have to pay for it. And I will readily admit that the information that I have used to project what it looks like to me is incomplete, so therefore my presumption may be incorrect. However, with the lack of information, it's all I have to go on. And so I'm using, national data on the cost of an average healthcare employee, the average cost of an employee here at Franklin County, trying to figure out how to make this work, or how is it going to keep the lights on. And I became very, very, very concerned when they started sharing that we were going to have to pare back services. And this is, that they were starting to say that more than 6 months before the facility even opened. And so I know that there's a very similar facility on the west side of the state that the taxpayers built and has currently one employee there, and it's a security guard to secure the campus because it is not opened. It's been completed, I believe it's over a year now that it has been completed, but it's never opened because they can't run the facility. They don't have the funds to run the facility. And that would be a tragedy in our community if we spent all this time and resources to build a facility that we can't afford to run. And I think we need answers.
Well, I'd say get that draft prepared today and we'll get it passed. But thank you, Mr. Baumann. I think this is great on the part of Franklin County, and I think it needs to be done so we have clarity. Mr. Danzel.
As a point of clarification, so is the board looking to pause the fund? That's what you want the resolution to read, is to pause the disbursement of funds?
That would be my preference.
Okay.
That we pause it until this board has received sufficient information that this board is comfortable with moving forward.
Yes. All right. So we'll just recess on that right there at a time, and we'll go into Commissioner Administrator updates. Mr. Danzel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you all know, I've been very, very ill, so I've been out quite sick, but I do want to thank, because of that, all the support staff that step up to be able to put this on. So I'd like to thank our clerk of the board, Teresa Alvarez, and our office assistant, Jen Herrera. I'd like to thank Jeff, Council Briggs, for everything and that they've been doing in my absence. So appreciate that, and I'm feeling a little bit better, so hopefully I'm on the mend. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Baumann.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Haven't had a whole lot going on. Have had a number of meetings, been to the Hapo Center a number of times. We've had some challenges over there with relationship to having some struggles with equipment on the ice, and have made myself available to meet over there at the Hapo Center quite a number of times, and appreciate all the efforts that everybody has been going through there. Have also met with the staff, talking with them about they have a unique challenge over there, and I'm pretty stinking proud of them for having this challenge. They have booked so many events in that facility that they're trying to figure out how to use the arena, because they need to book two events at the same time. And so it's become enough of a challenge that they're trying to figure out how to use that space. And so they called me the other day and they said, would you come in? And so I went and met with them, and they said, we're here to brainstorm, how do we do this? And that was pretty neat. That's pretty neat. They're doing a remarkable job over there, Mike and his team. And so that was pretty fun for them to say, we've got these events, we need to figure out how to turn the arena into the convention hall type setting, and so that was pretty fun. So other than that, enjoyed a lot of time with family over the Christmas season, And I'll leave that as my report.
Commissioner Mullen?
So I want to say thank you to all the hardworking employees of Franklin County. We've had to make a lot of rough decisions. You know, I feel that we're being overtaxed in this state, and that this board, and with the help of Mr. Danzel and all the other employees, that we're trying to run this county as efficiently as we possibly can. They've been a lot of hard choices, like I said, but I'm confident that we can move forward and continue to operate this county in a very economical way, so that we can still provide jobs and provide services. But at some point, we do have to look at what we're spending on these services, and I think every attempt is being made to be as efficient with our funds as possible. And so I just want to say thank you to everyone that works here at Franklin County. We do a lot, especially when you compare it to other counties. We are very efficient, and with less staff, we sometimes do more than what other counties do with more employees. But that all comes down to the employees here that make those commitment and dedication. And I just want to say thank you, and a prosperous new year. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Mullen, and I heed your thoughts. I want to thank the employees too. I want to thank everybody in this county, for Mr. Danzel for coming down, and you've been a great asset to this county, as Mrs. Alvarez has also been, and Jen. Our office is working together as a team, and we're hoping to bring the whole courthouse together as a team also. But when you're part of a team, you may not be that star player, and you may have to sacrifice. As I've learned in the NFL, you may not get that play for a while, but be ready when you get that play, and you'll win a championship. So that's what I'm hoping. For my last week, really no meetings. Just want to bring up Ben Franklin Transit. As we just talked about this recovery center, I want to put Ben Franklin Transit on front and center too. We are looking at the movement of people, and we're doing it basically for free now. Nobody's getting charged. We had one paying customer come to the mic at the last meeting and was complaining about witnessing people doing drugs and alcohol before they get on there, and that bodily fluids were being dispensed on the bus, and these people were taking their clothes off on the bus, and they were propositioning her. And I made the comment at the meeting that we got a paying customer that's upset. And one of the board members commented that that didn't matter. It's all people riding the bus. And I said, really? When you got a paying customer, you listen to the paying customer. Yeah, there's other people riding for free, and that's why we have this problem. We're going to see the same experience that we had when we had our last director over there from Portland. We're going to have buses shut down because fentanyl is going to be dispensed. Buses will have to be fumigated. It's going to be a mess. It's going to be a total mess if we don't get a grip on this. And Ben Franklin Transit has way too much money. They got $100 million in reserves. They're looking at ways to spend it. And honestly, I think we need to shut down the spending at Ben Franklin Transit until we see better efficiency. The other thing is we don't want to see what we're witnessing right now with this whole child care in Minnesota, and now Washington State being investigated. We've got billions of dollars in Minnesota, $9 billion that they're claiming that they're taking care of kids. But yet we had a kid who was just, I think, becoming an adult doing this investigation with his dad, and they found out there's no kids at these facilities. There's nobody even there. The doors are locked during the work days. That's what we're going to find in Washington State also. That's what we're going to find. And I am so proud to be serving with these other two commissioners that we are reining in these reins, and we're going to keep a tight rope on these reins because we do not want to raise taxes on our citizens in Franklin County. If I have my way, we'll lower taxes and be the leader of this state to show how you can create more revenue by lowering taxes instead of raising them. And so I'd just like to say keep your eyes peeled because I think you're going to see Governor Ferguson has just brought the attention upon himself from the feds, and I welcome it. That's the end of my report. Correspondence?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm quite confident that you gentlemen have received a letter from the assessor
Yes.
regarding the vehicles. Okay, if you've gotten that, that's the only, is there any other course? That's all the correspondence we had at this time.
Commissioner Baumann.
We did have a letter that was returned to us from the Department of Transportation. I'm guessing you guys seen that. I did appreciate the Department of Transportation sending us the letter back. So for the public, the commissioners received a response to the letter that we sent to the Department of Transportation about these accidents and the dangerous conditions out on Highway 395. I do appreciate the response from the Department of Transportation. However, I was disappointed that they pointed out that we could apply to the Department of Transportation for grant funding for a Department of Transportation roadway. And so it was as if they were putting responsibility on Franklin County for applying to the Department of Transportation for monies for a Department of Transportation roadway. That was very disappointing. They did point out that we should be working with the Benton Franklin Council of Governments on some potential grant funding there, and to the Federal Highway Administration for some there. And so I will look into those, but I found it disappointing that one of their potential remedies was that we apply to them to fix their road.
On that note, one other thing I wanted to report on, I had it down, but I didn't read it off, but you'll notice that there are two big signs, 8 by 16, that says warning, deadly road ahead. 10 deaths, 357 accidents, and 80 injuries. And I myself and 2 other men, one guy has cancer and the other guy's a war veteran from Desert Storm, put them up the day after Christmas, just trying to warn the people of that stretch of road where those crossroads are at, so that people may just become more aware, get off their phone, pay attention to the road, slow down. So actively, we've got people within our own community that's trying to make a difference. And that is very disappointing with the Department of Transportation, you bet. When they want us to apply for their grants, and when you get into these great big conglomerates like the Benton Franklin Council of Governments, now you're fighting for this within this little community that's got to go fight for it within the state. You're not going to see funds. It's just a big front for you're not going to get anything, no help. And until there's enough deaths, that's when their ears perk up, is when so many people, that's why we're putting those signs out on the road to remind people how many deaths there have been already. So with that, public comment. We're down to public comment. Anybody for public comment?
Good morning, Commissioners. My name's Carly Nave. I am a Franklin County resident, but here today I'm in my official capacity as the HR Director for Benton County and the Chief Negotiator for the Bi-County Collective Bargaining Agreements. My question is about, and comment is about the Juvenile Court Guild Collective Bargaining Agreement. We've been negotiating with this unit that represents juvenile court employees at the Benton Franklin Juvenile Justice Center since 1992, when the guild was certified. Both counties and the bench, the Superior Court bench, have been parties to this collective bargaining agreement. This year, as usual, the negotiating team was made up of representatives from the Superior Court, from Benton County, and also from Franklin County. Both boards gave express authority for those negotiations, and the parties came to a tentative agreement on December 1st of this year. The Guild ratified the agreement on December 4th, and Benton County signed the agreement on December 16th. The agenda package was initially submitted for today's agenda on December 9th with a follow-up on December 16th after Benton County signed the agreement. Yesterday, when I looked at today's agenda, I noticed that the contract was not on the agenda as had been previously confirmed by Ms. Alvarez. I inquired yesterday morning as to why it wasn't on the agenda, and I did not receive a response. So I'm here to hopefully solicit an answer as to whether this board intends to sign that agreement. I don't necessarily have an interest in either way what the answer is. My interest is in getting an answer because I've got employees and also my board looking to me as to kind of guiding next steps. So I've been working with Bi-County resolutions for years on both sides of the river, and I've never had something not placed on the agenda with zero communication or, any opportunity for discussion. So, thank you.
Anybody else for public comment?
I have not noticed correspondence, including the 6-page letter from Bob Ferguson emphasizing that he wants the tribes to monitor more land. And I have to remind you, Governor Lowry put that land held in trust in place, and it took off like wildfire across the, at that time, Clinton administration. They are quasi-sovereign. They are not sovereign. So they are wards of the state and the federal government. There is an upside-down relationship of like about 2% of the population. If you look at how much money the tribes have, which there are almost as many tribes as there are counties, and how much money we have as counties, it's disproportionate. And again, there are constitutional issues at hand. So I'm concerned about that. I also have been asking, and I know the holidays have disrupted, but I have been asking as a citizen, because there's 2 ways to redress the issue with Benton Franklin Transit. Is it an initiative or is it a referendum? And I've been seeking counsel. I would like to make that appointment today because I can see $18 million coming back into our coffers. You could actually pay everybody and buy them a car at this point, and they could transit themselves. So this is a ridiculous amount of money, and I think the Department of Transportation, it ought to be audited by an outside party of Washington State. Maybe Mr. Duffy in your March visit and some of those coming then would be amenable to reviewing that as well in Washington State. I did also note that Mr. Baumgartner was on Newsmax. He was a previous visiting congressional liaison before the bombings in Nigeria to save the Christians that are being annihilated. Thanks.
Anybody else for public comment? Is there anybody on the phone? Any
Mr. Chairman.
commissioners want to make comment?
Yeah, I had a question, Jeff. I don't know if this is best for you in relationship to the first public comment there. Could you help me understand this bi-county employee thing? It does not appear to me that they are bi-county employees. Could you speak to that?
That's something we should probably discuss in executive session, given the potential lawsuit forthcoming. But we certainly can.
Yes, we can say that.
Fair enough. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And with that, we are through the agenda here. And I believe we are going to go to, do we want a closed session or executive session first? No, we won't adjourn the meeting before the closed session so that we can
Yeah.
get our last resolution done.
I think if we do a closed session, we need to amend the agenda.
Okay?
Yeah, but either way, whatever the board wishes to do.
Mine is.
Maybe we do the closed session first, just in
Okay.
case. I mean,
Do we
we've
need
got
to
plenty of
amend
time,
the
but-
agenda then to have the closed session within the meeting?
You need to add it to the agenda, that
Yeah.
closed session.
Okay. So
Mr. Chairman, I move that we amend the agenda to add a closed session and that we would recess into closed session at this time.
Second.
Been a motion and a second to recess into closed session at this time. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. For how long, do you think? Okay. We have come out of closed session. We're going to recess back into closed session for another 5 minutes. We've come out of closed session, and I think we're going to amend the agenda, and then we'll go into executive session.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would move to amend the agenda to add two potential action items. The first item, 2025-393, that would be a pause of Franklin County Resolution 2024-240, funding of the betterments of the Columbia Valley Center for Recovery. And the second item, 2025-394, which is the approval of the collective bargaining agreement for the Prosecutors Guild.
There's been a motion, a second, to amend the agenda to add Resolution 2025-393, pause of the Resolution 2024-240, funding for the Columbia Valley Center of Recovery, and also 2025-394, which is the Prosecutors Guild Collective Bargain Agreement. Is there any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 So with that, Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve Resolution 2025-393, pausing of a previous Franklin County resolution for monies to the Columbia Valley Center for Recovery.
There's been a motion, a second, for Resolution 2025-393, pause of 2024-240, funding for the Columbia Valley Center for Recovery. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And then also a motion for the prosecutor's office.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of Resolution 2025-394, which is the approval of the collective bargaining agreement for the Prosecutors Office Guild.
Second.
Been a motion, a second, for Resolution 2025-394, Prosecutors Guild Collective Bargaining Agreement. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So at this time, it'll take us down to executive session. Mr. Briggs, do you want to take us into executive session?
Yes, we will have an executive session under RCW, sorry, this will be potential litigation, 4230-110-1I. And we'll need at least a half an hour.
So at this time, we will recess. Do we need to take a break before this executive session, a 5-minute break?
Mr. Chairman, I would recommend that we do our executive session in conference room A downstairs, or conference room 5 downstairs, pardon me.
All right.
Yeah.
So we'll recess into executive session at 10:10, and we'll be coming out at 10:40. That'll give us a minute and a half to get down to conference room 5. Okay. At this time, we'll recess into executive session. We have come out of executive session with no decisions being made. We're back to regular session, and I believe we have a motion.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I would move that we authorize the prosecuting attorney's office to accept service of the lawsuit that the Benton County Commissioners are serving on the citizens of Franklin County.
Second.
There's been a motion, a second, that we authorize our PA office to accept the lawsuit from Benton County. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Now, is there any other business for the good of the county on our meeting?
Couple of other things, Mr. Chairman. I would move that this board instruct our administrator to make the Knox boxes that are around this entire campus to come up to and be in compliant with the code and requirements of the city of Pasco. To give you a snapshot of what I mean by that is a number of years ago, 10 to 15 years ago to be precise, there was some Knox boxes added to this campus that it was through a series of events. It was instructed that the keys not be inserted into those boxes. They are still empty today. And so I would move that this board instruct our administrator to bring those Knox boxes into compliance with the code requirements of the city of Pasco.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second for the Knox boxes to be into compliance for the city of Pasco, and our administrator will be in charge of doing that. Is there any further discussion?
Just think that it's a pretty simple thing to do. Likely would be fulfilled. The obligation will be fulfilled by our facilities, and think that that needs to be done expeditiously.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there one more?
One more. Just a moment.
Okay. We'll take a little recess. How's that?
A second one, Mr. Chairman, I would move that this board instruct our administrator to work with the Superior Court to, as rapidly as possible, work with the Superior Court to, I'm not sure the exact phrasing of it, but Administrative Rule 5 that needs to be amended for Franklin County to be able to use the services of Martin Hall. I believe we have pretty much everything in place, nearly everything in place for that to happen. We need to get that underway, and would like to see our administrator work with the Superior Court to get that taken care of as quickly as possible.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to instruct our administrator to work with Superior Court on Rule 5, allowing Franklin County to use Martin Hall as our juvenile justice center. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
So with that, I believe this meeting is concluded. Is there any other business for the good of the county on the last day of the year and the last minute of the meeting?
We'd like to do, I just,
The list of the commissions that we all serve on, do we have that? We could put it up on the screen on the workshop? Yep, she can make it happen. So after we adjourn the meeting, we are going to take a brief recess so Teresa can get this put together for our workshop. So is there any other business for the good of the county? I just want to wish everybody a happy new year, and may Franklin County be the beacon of light for Washington State in the new year. Thank you, commissioners. It's a privilege serving with you too.
Same.
This meeting is adjourned. We will take a 5-minute recess, and we'll be back for our workshop.